But we're talking about the most brilliant mind this world has ever seen.
Welcome into the Brian and Brenden Talking About Beaver Football podcast. This is our third episode, Brenden. Can you believe it?
Man, time is flying.
I can't believe we've lasted 3 episodes. I'm surprised we haven't gone at each other's throats or whatnot.
We have, just off it. No, I'm just kidding. Of course not yet.
But yeah, man, Oregon State, seems like they haven't played a game in forever. We're up to 13 days since they played, 2 weeks. Gosh, it has been a drag, but hey, Saturday, football returns to Reser Stadium with the new terrace. As Oregon State hosts the Idaho State University.
I guess the best way to kind of describe it and say, Brian, has kind of been, like we've talked about. I said the best comparison is that 2012 season when Oregon State opened the year with having Nickel State not play because of the hurricane, and then playing Wisconsin week 2, and then having another bye before playing UCLA. So it was like 2 byes in 1 week. I mean, that was crazy, but that's the same kind of irky feel. I just feel like everyone else has played way too much college football. We're lagging.
Yeah, no, it is definitely a weird feeling. It's like, but it's almost like that Minnesota game was just like a practice game, and like the season's like officially starting now.
That was a spring game. It was just another spring game.
It just seems like such a long time ago. But yeah, Reser Stadium,
new look.
Yeah, new look. The terrace. It looks pretty nice.
It'll be real interesting. Like I said, when I talked to, when I went and he was able to catch up with, some of the members of the athletic department, they're like, we're hoping everything's all ready to go and everything. I'm sure they'll be just like, we know with a lot of our daily production here at OMM, when you start something new, I'm sure there'll be a few hiccups.
Oh, yeah. No.
Especially with it not being 100% done.
It's just kind of that time of year where it's like, all right, things are going to be starting, things are going to be changing. It's like, all right, we'll just kind of see how it goes. But I expect the terrace to be a success.
It's like how we don't even know where we're going to go yet for like post-game stuff yet, Brian.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, oh, media members, just go this way, follow the signs. I can't wait to see that nice media room we'll be in, though. Yeah, no, that's going to be nice.
Yeah, no, that'll be really cool. I hadn't even considered that, as part of the whole like renovation is what will stick the media, because like we weren't really in a media room. We were in like an auditorium, like in a team auditorium almost.
Yeah, and I think they built a media room, right?
Yeah.
Or so I've been told. They built a media room. I don't know. And then I've also heard they may put you in the team auditorium too. So either way, plus for us. But we got a lot of stuff to get to today, don't we, Brian?
Yeah, man. Oregon State currently on a 10-game losing streak dating back to last year. And, I don't want to get, ahead of myself at all, but it seems like this is the time that Oregon State could end that streak. Am I wrong there, Brenden?
Why did you have to bring up that 10-game, isn't it 11? Or no? No, it's 11. Because they lost, sorry, it is 10. My apologies. No, 10 games. Why'd you have to bring it up? That just brings some sad vibes.
Hey,
no,
we have to report the truth. If
Oregon State does not beat Idaho State, there is some major issues.
Yeah, especially because Idaho State played Colorado last week
and got
thumped.
That's generous.
Yeah.
But, I'd say drilled. What was it, 45-7, I think?
Let me look at the quick. I think it was 56-7 at Colorado.
Again, Idaho, it's like how Gary Anderson was saying this week in his press conference. He was saying, we've seen Idaho State film, but when you saw them film against a Pac-12 team, you're like, wow, okay, a Pac-12 team already has bigger size, more speed, more strength. Coach Anderson said, so I believe someone asked him, like, do you need to remind the guys? Because Oregon State fans, they know what it's like to lose to a Big Sky team.
That they do.
Twice.
Yeah.
So, I'm feeling, like I said, last year I felt a little uneasy about the Weber State game. I did. I felt a little like, I was a little scared for that Weber State game.
If I'm remembering correctly, not to put you on blast or anything, but didn't you predict a blowout?
I did, but inside, I didn't, and I thought Oregon State would run away with it because I was wearing the Seth Collins glasses.
Oh yeah,
still maybe am a little bit, but you're right, I did, but a part of me had that kind of new coach, Big Sky teams scare me, man. Portland State, Eastern Washington, those teams still scare me today. Portland State matches up with Washington. I don't think that's going to happen, but ask the Cougars, man. Eastern Washington hits pretty hard. I mean, Idaho State's not Eastern Washington, but you still got to, it's like Gary Anderson said, respect every team you play, period.
Yeah, that's definitely something you got to do. Yeah, the Big Sky or the Big Sky teams, I'm usually not scared of them because like 8 times out of 10, you're gonna get it. And Idaho State is by no means a good team. They won 2 games as well last year.
They beat Black Hills State 55-0 last year, Brian.
Yeah, and North Dakota. Yeah,
It's funny how North Dakota's so bad, but North Dakota State's so amazing.
That is interesting. But yeah,
it's an interesting dynamic. It's like how South Dakota's terrible, but South Dakota State's. I mean, it's all the states back there, man.
It's like Oregon's really good, but Oregon State has kind of not been good.
I guess someone can make that argument. Yeah. So anyway,
but yeah, so this isn't a Eastern Washington, like you said. Eastern Washington is one of the premier FCS schools.
I mean, they're number 5 in the country right now in the FCS poll, or North Dakota State, or Richmond, who beat Virginia's like top 3.
Yeah,
there's some good FCS programs that are almost on that cusp of being competitive in D1. This isn't one of them.
No, not at all. They're like we said, they're coming off a 10-loss season, and it just Idaho, I guess, outside of Boise State, just doesn't really produce really good football. Like, Idaho's not very good.
Even Boise State brings in a lot of players from Washington.
Yeah.
They don't bring in, I mean, there's very few guys that get right there from Boise.
Yeah. So I guess my first question I have for you, Brenden, with this game, seeing as though that Colorado beat this team 56-7, does this game need to be a blowout for Oregon State to be considered a good game? Or for fans to feel good about the team moving forward, does it need to be a blowout?
Absolutely no question. Oregon State has not had a dominant win under head coach Gary Anderson. There's not. I mean, Weber State 26-7. Say what you want. Weber State was in that game till the third quarter.
Yeah, no, that was a one-score game until the fourth quarter.
San Jose State, same way. I think San Jose State was up on. Were they up on Oregon State? It was like
it was close. Like, yeah, because they didn't have like an offensive touchdown, I don't think. Or no, like their offense like didn't move, but Oregon State kind of gave them short field positions.
Yeah.
Times.
Anyway, point being, and that was only 2 wins last year. Oregon State could use like a 55 to like another drubbing like Colorado did. Put the game away early. Rest your starters. Get Ryan Nall in the ice bath. I mean, I think Oregon State fans need to see what this program is under Gary Anderson and see that this program can exude strength and physicality. And I think this might be the only time this year you can do it. And if you can do that, if you can, beat this team, let's just say I'd be good with like a 45 to like 14. That'd be a solid win. I think you're going to allow a few scores to Idaho State. I don't think, maybe you do, maybe you don't. And then you have some major momentum going into arguably a winnable but extremely tough Boise State team next week. That could be a dogfight. That Boise State game. I'm excited for that one, Brian.
Yeah, no, this Idaho State game for sure I think does need to be a blowout, just for a lot of the reasons that you pointed out. I just think that they need to show some sort of just like, hey, we can be a competitor in the Pac-12, and if you're going to be a competitor in the Pac-12, these are the type of games that you just need to take Idaho State behind the woodshed and just.
Yeah, I mean, Colorado did it. I mean, Colorado is, I wrote earlier in a power rankings piece that I thought Colorado is finally starting to show a little bit of strength in the Pac-12. I mean, they beat up on Colorado State. Colorado State, they're solid-ish. They're not a slouch as a program.
Yeah, they've gone through some change. Like, they lost their Jim McElwain. Yeah,
and they had Garrett Grayson for a while, but no
Dave Baldwin.
Dave Baldwin. Yeah, but and I'm just saying they're not a. Oh gosh, I'm trying to give myself a really bad example. They're not, a terrible Division I team.
No.
Idaho State, on the other hand, is a terrible Division II team, and Colorado took them to the woodshed. Colorado's looking good. They're beating up on teams. Maybe it won't translate, but there's some confidence. Colorado's going to be brought back to earth when they go to number 4 Michigan in the Big House this week.
Yeah, no, that.
I'm sorry, Ralph. Ralphie's going to have to not run on that one. But Oregon State needs this win to show the fans there's something to get excited about. Fans maybe saw a little bit that there was progress in Minnesota, but the fans need a W. They do. They need to get some butts back in Racer Stadium.
Yeah, and I'll talk about Oregon for a little bit. Like, a lot of one of the reasons they became so part of their allure almost was that they thumped teams. They put 70 points on a Idaho State or And I think part of that just kind of just builds excitement. It's like, oh, look how like good this offense can be. I think they just need to prove.
Offense puts people in seats. Defense wins championships, but offense puts people in seats, I think.
Yeah. Oh man, we can have a whole another podcast about the lack of seats from filled last year.
Well, that's why I said Oregon State. That's my biggest point is the blowout. It has to be because Oregon State. I will already say there's more interest than last year. You can see that many Oregon State fans I've seen on a lot of message boards, whether it's on Scout or Rivals, saying they were proud, disappointed but proud of the way they competed. Oregon State would have got blown out in that game last year, but you got to show the fans there's something. And if you could go put 50 points on the board, that would just it bode well going to see a real marquee game. I know a lot of people that are going to that Boise State game. That'd be a real marquee game. They can sell some big tickets, and heck, if the ball bounces crazy ways, Beavers could be 2-1 heading into Pac-12 play.
Yeah, I was thinking that if Oregon State, has like a 28-14 game or just kind of,
yeah, that's not going to do it for me.
Yeah, that just I just don't think that will do it. Like it'll be good if they end the streak, and obviously they're at a point in the season where they can show improvement. So like getting a win is always important.
Yeah, I mean, I am 100% confident they will win this game.
Yeah.
I will say for 100% certainty the Beavers will win this game. The depending factor is by how many. Also, the thing that's going to play in the blowout, the Beavers have had 2 weeks to get ready for this team. You don't need 2 weeks to get ready for an FCS team.
Yeah.
Gary Anderson said they dove into Idaho State tape like last Wednesday. They've had way too much time. They're going to crush them. I'm saying it's going to happen. Yeah. That's just my opinion.
I can see this game turning pretty ugly.
Which would be a welcome sight for Oregon State fans that they have not seen in quite some time.
That is very true. All right. So, Minnesota game was near like 2 weeks ago, where it just seems like forever ago.
Yeah.
But there's some players that, maybe didn't have the best game that just kind of, did the season might have caught them on a bad day or whatnot, but they didn't perform the way, some people that come to mind. Victor Bolden, especially, he had that nice touchdown, a couple drops. Jordan Villeman, another one who just
non-factor in the game.
Non-factor. Dustin Stanton, obviously got beat on those 2 plays. You can even throw like Bright Agwebu in there for missing that tackle on 4th down at the goal line. There are a lot of players that they want to get back out there too, and prove that they can.
They've watched it's like Dustin Stanton. You could see in his face. This week and last, he was just like, people were asking him about protecting. He wants to get back on the field.
Yeah.
And that's got to be hard for players.
So who do you think of all the players is primed for a breakout game?
Okay, so I said after we do this, one thing I do want to add, I want to have one player that I want to continue their great play and continue to bring the wood. So bounce back game, I think it's got to be Dustin Stanton. The easy pick would be Victor Bolden and Jordan Villeman. I was watching, Talking Bees earlier this week, and, Lindsey Schnell and Nigel Burton were like, oh, if they have another bad game, bench Victor Bolden and Jordan Villeman. They're like, if they have another bad game and don't, give Timmy Hernandez and, Trevin Bradford a shot. And I'm like, it may be blunt, but the Victor Bolden and Jordan Villeman are 2 players that have been in the program. They got to show that they're seniors. They got to show they're upperclassmen. Mm-hmm. But Dustin Stanton protecting, if they could give Garrettson all day to throw, I think I'd make it a personal goal to try to not let Garrettson get sacked in this game. And I think that's manageable against Idaho State. I'd like to keep Garrettson up all day. If Oregon State didn't get to Minnesota, I think Oregon State should be able to handle Idaho State in terms of pass rush, but I want to see Dustin Stanton step up.
Dustin Stanton's a great pick, and for the sake of conversation, I'll pick someone else because Dustin Stanton was mine. I just think that,
I'm sorry.
That he's just kind of he's the scapegoat of that game. It's like, oh, if Dustin Stanton, had made those 2 blocks, obviously you don't.
And Taylon Devers was pretty good as a freshman, but
Of course. So Dustin Stanton, I think, is I think he'll handle his own against Idaho State. He should. So yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Victor Bolden. I think that wasn't his best showing. I think he is better than he showed against Minnesota. He's not an elite receiver. He's not in the Brandon Cooks realm or even like the Marcus Wheaton or anything.
So if he goes off like 1,500 yards the rest of the year,
we can come back to this podcast and just be like,
well,
like we motivated Brandon or we motivated
Victor Bolden. But
because he listened to the podcast.
Well, and it was unfair. You know, you think about it. Victor Bolden was like I think he got unfairly put on a pedestal a little bit because like when he came in, everyone's like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be, you know, this is like the next, like maybe not the next Brandon Cooks, but that was who he had to live up to, is that number one receiver. You know, because you think about it, when Brandon Cooks left in 2013, or Cooks' last year at Bolden's first, Bolden was exclusively on kick returns, played a little bit, but everyone's like, oh, I remember Riley was like, we're gonna burn Bolden's red shirt, and then I remember Riley the next year was like, thank goodness we burned Bolden's red shirt because he needed to be that number one option as a true sophomore in 2014.
Yeah, and he had like 80 catches in nearly
that sophomore year was so solid.
Yeah, like
I'm going to give him a pass last year because Oregon State did not have good quarterback play. No pass this year.
Yeah.
Period. He's got to come out and be that receiver for that number one receiver like he can be. He's fast. He can get by guys. He's normally got good hands, and he's got a good quarterback throwing on the ball. No excuses for Victor Bolden.
Yeah, the one thing that I will say is it's still year one with a quarterback.
That's true.
Cooks and Mannion were paired for Brandon's entire career, and I do.
But
think,
Cody Vaz was in there too.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but
otherwise, yes.
But like,
I get what you're saying.
Like 4 games of the 30,
for sure.
So yeah, I think that those kind of things, like the working together, pays off, and I think that was the case with Sean and Brandon, and Bolden. He had Sean Mannion, who had a really good sophomore year, bad year. Like this year, he should be better. I'm not expecting a 1,500 yard or even 1,000 yards, but he should be around that 800 yards, 70 catches mark. I think that'd be a good like place to be at.
Yeah, and he might do it.
Yeah, and I do think that he is good, and I actually, in fall camp, I talked to Brenden about where like Trevon Bradford and Victor Bolden and Brandon Cooks kind of, as they were true freshmen, where they kind of stacked up against each other in that first year. And he said Brandon Cooks was dominant. We were for sure he was going to be great.
Yeah. He
said Victor Bolden was able to play and was good, but he actually had Bolden ahead of Bradford in terms of where they are at as freshmen.
So basically Bradford maybe isn't quite as good as
Yeah, I'd say at this point.
He hasn't played, though, still.
Yeah.
Like, everyone thought he might. Because Hernandez played a little bit, I think. But it's harder to redshirt a JC guy.
Yeah.
When you bring in a JC guy, you're almost bringing him in with the guarantee that you're going to play him right away. It's real, because usually sometimes they've used the redshirt year. It's a little easier to redshirt Bradford. He may redshirt. You never know.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm still waiting to see a lot from Xavier Hawkins, too. A guy that had a redshirt burn for like 3 plays in 2014. And then, so on and so forth. But the guy that I hope continues to bring it in terms of, bounce back game, Devin Chappelle.
Good pick.
Devin Big Hit Chappelle, I'm going to call him. That guy was flying all over the field that I remember in Minnesota. I love Devin Chappelle, man. I love that guy.
Yeah,
he's solid. And I hope he continues to. He led the defense with like a swagger that I hadn't seen, like just like a real just rough and tough nature like I hadn't seen since like a Jordan Poyer almost in a way. It's an unfair comparison, but I saw some glimpses just like banging guys around. It was nice. It was good to see.
All right, that's your last time you get to use the word swagger on this podcast.
Fair point.
No, but I agree. I do like Devin Chappelle. I just think he
walk on to hero.
Yeah, He went to Western Oregon.
You never would have thought something like that would happen.
He's got the confidence in himself that is very evident, and he just played well, and I think he is a key member of the.
I like guys that hit hard.
Yeah, no, he was looking like Alpha Lava out there.
Ooh, I like that. Ooh, that's
yeah.
Oh, that play on Jeff Mayle in 07.
Yeah, no, there's some similarities there. Both wearing number 9.
There you go. I like it. All right, Brian, who's kind of your guy that you'd like to pick to continue their good success on defense or on offense or defense?
On offense or defense?
Just someone we were like, man, they played well. Let's see them do it again and not make it just like a one-hit wonder.
Who just like played really well? I want to see Daryl Garrettson continue to play well. Yeah, okay. I'll cop out and go with the quarterback, but
okay.
I was really impressed with how he played, and even like watching, I thought he missed some plays that I think he'd like to have back, and so I just want to see him just kind of dominate this game, get out of the game early, get some reps for old Marcus McMarion.
There you go.
Who I think was playing at a really high level fall camp, who could, get some good game reps. That if he's ever needed, he can go.
Not to mention, I mean, do you think it's pretty set in stone now that barring injury, Mason Moran redshirts?
Yeah.
Do they have one more do they have another quarterback on the roster or no? I'm trying to remember if they
do. He wears number 12.
Do you remember what his name is?
I don't.
I'm falling.
Because I literally have not seen him take a single rep.
Ouch. Well,
it's just the truth. I just didn't see him, take any reps during scrimmages or whatnot. He just.
So yeah, let's put it this way. Let's hope to see Marcus McMarion. So that's what I got for Idaho State. I think I think Oregon State gets the win. I think they get it in a big way, and that's all I got to say about Idaho.
Yeah, if you had to put a number on it, give me a score.
I like 45-14.
45-14.
I like that number. Something about it's ticking.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 42-17.
Similar, but yeah, both of us are like, you need to win by 25.
Yeah,
ish, right? That's 20.
It could be something like Oregon State scores like 35 points to open the game, and then Idaho State's just able to score 17.
Yeah, if you can just put the game, if you can have Daryl Garrettson not play the fourth quarter, that's have your starters out in the fourth. That's a win in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
Yeah.
But more than likely though, this isn't the most exciting Pac-12 game of the week.
I'm gonna say that it definitely is not the most exciting. This one just doesn't really move the ticker. It might just be the Idaho State, but definitely the big game in the Pac-12. I don't know if anyone else agrees, but it's definitely Oregon going to Nebraska, where
I was gonna say Hawaii, Arizona, but all right, Brian, yeah. I get where you're kind of coming from. No,
yeah, our old friend Mike Riley coaching the Nebraska Cornhuskers, who are 2-0 against the 2-0 Oregon Ducks.
Well, we'll save my opinion on Mike Riley for a separate podcast. And any people that will listen to my internship on 1080 The Fan, all the Brandon Sprague and Andy Dirt Johnson and Jason Swigert and even Jason Sukanik, who blew me off the mic, know my stance on Mike Riley. But I hope he gets the win. Wait, I do.
You interned at 1080 The Fan?
I did.
Oh, good to know. So anyway,
I do. I hope Mike Riley gets the win for one reason. I'm still not a big Mike Riley fan, and we're gonna save that conversation for a different day. But I hope Mike Riley gets the win because I think he needs to exercise his Oregon demons. That's the only reason I'm rooting for Nebraska. But at the same token, if Oregon goes in and beats Nebraska, I'm gonna say good for Oregon for going in and prove me wrong because I'm not sold on Oregon. I don't think. I mean, I thought they played two pretty bad D1 team, or one pretty bad D1 team and one pretty awful FCS team. I'm not sold on them. So if they go in and thrash Nebraska, I will be. But I expect Nebraska to get the win by 10 points.
By 10 points? Yeah. No, I think that's a good call. Yeah, like with Nebraska, I've watched a little bit of them. Watched a little bit of their last game. I didn't watch much of their first game, but
they haven't played anybody real talented either, though.
They played Wyoming and Fresno State. Those are definitely like upgrades of who Oregon.
Yes,
played.
absolutely. Definitely, I'd say Fresno State's definitely an upgrade over.
I really like that non-conference schedule that they have.
Fresno State is always a solid, kind of scary, kind of middle tier, kind of can upset you opponent. Wyoming,
it's kind of the same. They're
are they better than the credit than I know?
Yeah,
they could be. And then Oregon. Man, this might be the first time if they lose, Oregon would fall out of the poll for the first time in probably, I don't even know. They're 22nd. If they lost, they'd fall out.
Yeah.
And I don't even know the last time the Ducks weren't ranked.
Yeah, good for them.
You want to exercise some Oregon demons there too, Brian?
Nope. I just think.
Let it out, Brian. Let it out. No, it's okay. Let it out. Let it out.
No. So anyway, yeah, I do think that this would be kind of a big win for Mike Riley. I think.
And Mark Banker.
And Mark Banker.
More so for Mark Banker.
Yeah. Because what did Riley finish? He was at one point he was like 4-3 against Oregon.
Let's see. So he came. So let's count the second Riley tenure. So I'm gonna say the second.
Yeah, he was 1-1 in his first tenure.
And then lost in 03, won in 04, lost in 05, then won 6-7.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I think, 4-3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if it's like people say, if you are 50-50 with your rival, you'll probably keep your job. Yeah. But then after that, he was what? 10 and or 4-10,
yeah.
4-10 now.
Yeah, lost the final ones.
Hadn't-
ran into Chip Kelly.
Hey, I mean, this looks like the St. Louis Rams ran into Chip Kelly too.
Yeah.
I just said St. Louis Rams, the Los Angeles Rams. Brian, I think you and I were texting back. You think Sean Mannion should have got a shot in that game?
Absolutely. He should be the starter.
I agree. All right, I don't want to. That's a whole separate podcast too. Don't get Brian started on that, folks. He'll say some pretty off the wall things about Sean Mannion.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to business.
So you're taking Nebraska by 10?
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's gonna be a lot of points in this game.
A lot of points.
I'm saying 30. I'm saying I'm gonna say 45-35. I think it's a shootout. I do. I don't think Nebraska's defense could surprise me, but I don't think Mark Banker's gonna shut down the Ducks. I still don't think he does it.
No, I don't think so. And it's so rare that Oregon doesn't score.
When you still got guys like Rolls Royce, you still got Prukop that can throw, you still got Dwayne Stanford, Carrington, those guys. I've never seen a program that can make, just huck a ball up and they catch it every time, but that's Oregon. Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of athletes and they're going to put up points. So I think Nebraska wins in a shootout, and I think Nebraska's defense stops them once or twice.
Do you think Mike Riley will be put back into good graces with Oregon State with a victory over Oregon, even though he's coaching at Nebraska?
I think Beaver fans they wouldn't maybe give him a pass, but they'd be like, all right, I don't like you a little less. Maybe, I think it would bring down Brenden's not like for Mike Riley a little bit. Talking about myself in the third person, I think it'd be like, I think it'd bring down my not like for him a little bit. If he could beat the Ducks, I'd be like, all right, you beat the Ducks, you knocked them out of the rankings. You're slightly forgiven. Not like 15%. But Beaver fans, if Gary Anderson gets a good thing going, Mike Riley will be, an afterthought that he didn't beat the Ducks. And I think Gary Anderson will get a good thing going because I think Oregon State ultimately got a better coach with Gary Anderson. He hasn't shown it yet. He has a long way to go, but I think if he sticks around, which is key, because Gary Anderson likes to move, if he sticks around, Oregon State will, for the long run, have the better coach.
Yeah, no, I think I don't know. I think whenever Oregon loses, no matter what team, it kind of raises in the
losing to Mike Riley
up the rankings of fans. So I think just like Nebraska beating Oregon would be really cool. I think not that it would be cool, but it just
is it possible?
A lot of Oregon State fans would be like, sweet.
But think
Oregon
about
just lost.
It's possible that Mike Riley could do it not 1 year, but 2 years in a row. Because Nebraska goes to Autzen next year. That will be a huge. Think about how this is. Think about Nebraska, which I don't think they're going to get any worse. Nebraska probably being next year, arguably, I'm thinking a top 20 program going into Autzen with a Duck team that Royce Freeman won't be around. Royce Freeman's a junior now, so he's
likely gone.
Yeah. Oh, there's no way he doesn't stay unless he gets hurt. Prukop's gone. Ducks will be looking for a new option at quarterback. Ducks might be a little shaky next year.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Mike Riley has a chance to, if he wins the next 2 years, I will lose 90% of my dislike towards Mr. Riley.
Yeah. So I guess, one of the perceptions with Mike Riley and Oregon State and Corvallis just kind of in general is that that's tough to recruit. You can't get players there. If Riley wins at Nebraska, wins this game against Oregon at Nebraska, wins, and what does that prove if he wins this game?
Maybe there's some truth to it. But I also think no matter what, you're always going to have better facilities. And people can say what they want, but facilities and money can make a college football program 3 times better than one down the road that doesn't have either one of them.
Oh, absolutely.
So Nebraska borderline could have, I think they do have more money than Oregon. I think that's possible. With the amount of donors they have, the amount of just Nebraska being the center of the college football universe, arguably, Nebraska is right there with Oregon in terms of facilities and money. Mike Riley went to a program he might have been jealous of a little bit, and if he can prove that he can beat the Ducks, I think it comes full circle for him, and that'll put Nebraska 3-0. Dang, the sky could be the limit for them this year.
Yeah.
That's a marquee signature win.
No, I think that there's definitely a lot to prove with Mike Riley because there is just kind of that perception that recruiting to Corvallis and to Oregon State,
he couldn't beat the spread.
Yeah, he especially when you're just 40 miles away from a team that
went to the national title.
Went to the national title, has unlimited funds and whatnot.
Yep.
That
And whenever you rule out something, they got to rule out something better. Like you think it's coincidence that the day the Beavers released their renderings to the Valley, Oregon released their Marcus Mariota? That's not even close to coincidental. It's when we do something or Oregon State does something, Oregon's always got to top it.
Well, how much do you trust Brandon Sprague's reporting?
Sprague's?
Yeah.
Brandon Sprague?
Yeah.
Oh, are we switching topics here?
Nope. Stay on topic. We're on topic.
Brandon Sprague.
How much do you like?
I mean,
how much do you like trust his like sources and all that?
Sprague, I'd give Sprague. I work with him all summer, so I'm kind of
I am putting you on the spot.
You are, and Sprague might listen to this podcast. Honestly, I give Sprague a 50-50 shot.
50-50 shot.
I don't know. Sprague's burned me a few times this summer, so I may even go 45-55.
Ooh,
towards not leaning towards him, but 50-50 is what I'm gonna settle on.
Well, apparently he has a source that said the whole revealing of the Marcus Mariota Center was completely coincidental. So,
really.
Yeah.
Interesting. I call BS. That's some 7 to 9 BS in my opinion. But hey, Sprague, if you got it, I mean, I that's just my opinion. I think it's too coincidental. But
yeah.
I don't. I'm gonna stop where I'm decent.
Yeah.
And not get in myself any deeper. I just say I don't believe it.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. No, this is definitely a big game for Mike Riley and for Nebraska, and I don't know. I've just kind of grown up in a time where, my two favorite teams are Oregon State and whoever's playing Oregon. So
I grew up the same way. I kind of had to, I wouldn't say I had to change it, but I had to back off a little bit because when my parents divorced, my mom married a Duck fan. Oh. So I had to have a stepdad that was more of a Duck fan. So I had to be, that was my senior year of high school. I had to be a little less just red in the face, not liking the Ducks. And then when I came to Corvallis, I had to be more of a journalist. I had to be a little more less red in the face with everything. But you're absolutely right. I grew up the same way. So if you grew up a Beaver fan, you're absolutely right. You're the Beavers and whoever the Ducks were playing. And any Duck fan that grew up and said, "Oh, we rooted for the Beavers equally as hard," is probably lying to you.
Yeah, I don't trust those people.
I don't buy it either. So
So, score prediction for this game?
45-35.
45-35.
Nebraska.
So, 2 games of 45. I'm going to go...
Oh, I guess I did do that. That's cliche. Whatever. 45. I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm going to go 38-21. Nebraska.
Ooh, that's a bit of a... 17 points.
Yeah.
That's you're thinking they're going to take them to the woodshed a little bit.
I think so. Do
you think Duck fans will be brought back to earth a little bit? John Canzano thinks the Nebraska's going to win, and he thinks the Duck fans will be brought back to earth. I mean, you look at guys like Joey Harrington that were just like, Duck fans are spoiled, man.
Yeah.
They don't even know what it's like. I mean, Duck fans were complaining they went 9-4 last year. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
Get back to earth.
Yeah.
I mean,
9-4, that's like cause for celebration.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if the Ducks went like 7-6 this year, or 8-4.
Oh, stop it, Brenden.
I'm just saying that would. I mean, yeah, Duck fans don't even know how good they have it. But yeah, so that's what I got, Brian.
So you went 45-35?
Yep, Nebraska.
And I went 38-17.
Speaking of Sprague, did you know Brandon Sprague and Dirt are going to go to that game? They wanted to rub that in like all year.
Oh, to Nebraska?
Yeah, they're
lucky.
Apparently, I guess they had something going on, but yeah, they're going out to Nebraska. So apparently, Sprague's like, I got to meet up with Mike Riley. Sprague and Mike Riley are still real close, I guess. So I was like, whatever. But yeah, they're going. I'm kind of jealous. Going to Big Red.
That's
be a
awesome.
fun atmosphere.
That's one of the great college atmospheres.
Yep.
And surprisingly enough, there are other Pac-12 games going on that we will dive into.
I know. We need to get to it, Brian.
I felt like we needed to talk a little bit more about the Nebraska-Oregon game just because there are some... It's a little bigger than a regular non-conference game.
So what do you got? What do you want to start with for starters on games, Brian?
Let's start with Arizona State versus Texas San Antonio, the Fighting Roadrunners.
First of all, I love that mascot. But second of all, Arizona State, what's his name? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Balaj or Balaj, the running back that had 6 touchdowns against Texas Tech. Or was it 8? I forget. I think it was 8. And set an NCAA record.
Yeah, no.
Arizona State's offense is clicking. Granted, Texas Tech's defense is really bad. But this isn't even a question for me. Granted, it's in... You know what's surprising, Brian? It is in the Alamo Dome.
Oh, in the Alamo Dome. Nice.
Beaver fans have some great memories of the Alamo Dome. UTSA has a tendency to be a middle tier program. They almost beat Arizona. They always play the Arizona schools. They play them real tough. Arizona State will get the victory here, but it's going to be closer than you think. I think Arizona State's offense might stagnate a little bit after that big performance. I'm thinking a 35-14 Arizona State win over UTSA.
Yeah, this just seems just like a blowout waiting to happen.
And that's a Friday game too.
Yeah, Friday game. That one's coming right up. But yeah, it's definitely a big one for like Arizona State should just roll these guys.
And not to mention UTSA lost to Colorado State, who Colorado pounded actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, 20-point spread. I expect Arizona to win by more than that.
Okay.
All right. So both in agree.
We are.
Arizona State over Texas San Antonio.
Yep.
All right. Let's take us to the Idaho Vandals versus the Washington Cougars. Did the Cougars...
Washington State Cougars, do
they find out what's wrong? Or are they just a team that just can't figure it out and Mike Leach is just flown off the handles with his, the police are... treating his players unfairly to,
What's next? You going to put someone in a closet again, Brian?
Yeah, it could be. It could be something like that. Or
no. The Cougars will get their victory. Idaho is notoriously one of the worst programs, I'm going to tell you something kind of funny. Because my family, or some of my family went to watch Washington State, Eastern Washington, because a close family friend of ours happens to be Gage Gubrud, who was the Eastern Washington quarterback when they beat Washington State. And my family ended up going to stay in Moscow that night. Mm-hmm. And they got a hotel, and in the front desk lady was like, they're like, "Oh, you came back from a football game." She goes, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, Eastern Washington won." They go, "We won our opener for the first time ever." And that was Idaho. She's like, "We lost the opener for 15 years." Idaho has been notoriously one of the worst programs. I don't know if they're still Division I. They're Sunbelt, so they are. They have notoriously been the worst Division I program out there. And nothing changes. The Cougars get this win, and it's not even... they play in a dome, Brian. They play in the Kibbe Dome.
Yeah.
That holds 5,000. The Washington State's going to roll.
Yeah, I agree. I think Washington State just off to just a rough start, just 2 close losses. I do think this is a good team. I think they'll figure it out along the way, just as long as they don't come unraveled. I think Mike Leach has kind of a way of riding the ship when things just kind of seem like they're falling apart.
But I tell you what, though, if they lose to Idaho, the Pirates have to walk the plank.
Oh yeah, that's not going to be good to lose.
If they lost to Idaho,
Eastern Washington, Boise State, and Idaho.
If they lost to Idaho, I'm calling it right now. Mike Leach would have to walk. They would fire him.
Yeah, especially, gosh, they're the best team in the Pacific Northwest. Now that you lose to 3 kind of.
That's a fair point. But yeah, I'm going Washington State all the way.
Yep. 25-point spread.
Yeah, I'll go.
They'll cover.
I'll go 50, 52 to maybe 7.
Yeah.
Falk will put up incredible numbers.
52-7, you say?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think they'll score probably a little bit more. I think Idaho will score probably. I'll give them 21.
Wow. Okay.
But I like the 52.
Okay.
I like 52 to 21.
Okay.
All right.
Colorado, Michigan.
Yeah.
I said that there might be some hope for the Buffaloes, but it ain't gonna be this weekend.
No.
This could be really ugly. They might keep it close. This might be like Oregon State, Michigan last year, where it's real close early. I'm saying 35-7, typical Jim Harbaugh, grind it out, win game.
Yeah, no, Colorado quietly on a 2-game winning streak.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah,
Sorry,
Michigan, I think they're a playoff team. I think that I think that they can run the table in the Big Ten, which has a lot of good teams. Yeah, I'm not seeing
and yet
a
ESPN gives Colorado 10%.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a Cordell Stewart Hail Mary to win in the Big House.
Nope.
It's not even going to come down to a Hail Mary.
No, it won't be that close.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think Colorado will score. I think it'll be kind of lower score. I think it'll go like 35-14.
Okay. So yeah. Next 2 games were Oregon and Oregon State, which we both have already predicted. So I guess we can jump down to the Washington-Portland State game. Bruce Barnum, Barney Ball.
Yeah, this isn't going to be close. Portland State.
Bruce Barnum ain't going to pull it off?
Nah, Washington, man.
Look at that percentage. We can tell the listeners what the percentages are.
That's a 99.5% win for Washington.
No, UW is the real deal. I think this is the year they're gonna Denver, Stanford for the North, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, Washington looked good.
This is the year they're gonna beat the Ducks, though. I call it. The Duck fans, they can continue to say what they want, but unless Jake Browning and the whole defense gets hurt, no.
Yeah, Washington. I watched the first 5 minutes of that Idaho game, and Washington just thumped them. It was over before the opening kickoff.
I'm gonna say 45-7. I think Portland State holds them down a little bit.
45-7?
45-7, 45-10, somewhere in that range. Are you writing down my predictions?
I'm writing down all of ours.
Oh, see, now, folks, will come back in a couple weeks, or next week I'll be completely wrong, and Brian will have.
Hey, we have to keep each other accountable, man.
That's true. I guess so.
Transparency with our listeners.
That's absolutely true.
We got to be able to admit when we were right. We were like, hey, remember when I picked that 38-21 victory for Nebraska? And then you'd be like, yeah, remember when you said Colorado wouldn't score a single point against Michigan?
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I got for Portland State, Washington.
Yeah, no, that Washington looks good, and I mean, I'm treading lightly with the Washington team just because it just seems like every year it's like, oh, this is the year.
But they never climbed this high in the rankings.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, they did. The year that they
this was the highest since 2001. 8 was the highest since Rick Neuheisel was there.
Yeah, I mean they've had like good teams in the top 15 and
preseason maybe.
Yeah, preseason.
Yeah,
so
fall.
I'm not quite ready to buy into the hype of Washington yet, just because they've played. Who have they played? Rutgers and Idaho. Not exactly the greatest schedule. I mean, Portland State. Like, got to respect what Bruce Barnum's done, but
yeah, no, I mean,
no, they're not ready for Washington. I think this one's gonna be ugly. I think this might be like a 61-7.
Wow. Okay, moving on.
USC Stanford, finally a nice game where is this the Pac-12 opener for everyone? I believe it is.
Yes, it is.
This is an interesting matchup to me.
Fight on, Trojan Nation. I got the Trojans pulling the upset.
Oh, here we go.
I got the Trojans pulling the upset. Yeah, Stanford did not look impressive to me against Kansas State. Sure, they've had a bye week, but USC can have they have the little chip on their shoulder. They played the toughest team in the country. Granted, they got destroyed, but they played the toughest team in the country. I think USC, these USC Stanford always open the season the last couple of years, and they're always pretty good. Stanford, I think USC beat them Did they beat them a couple years ago? I thought they did. Maybe they did. But either way, it was real close. Mm-hmm. I think USC pulls it off on a last-second field goal from, I'm drawing a blank on their kicker. But, yes, last-second field goal. I'm going to say 24-21 USC over Stanford. And I could be wrong, but Christian McCaffrey will still have 400 yards.
Maybe.
Right?
No, I'm taking Stanford.
All right.
This is where we disagree. I just think they are better coached. I think both teams are using, new quarterbacks. I'm like Max Brown. I'm out of Skyview. I think he's up. He's a
Skyview,
Northwest guy.
He's the number 2 quarterback in his class that year.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think Stanford is a better team.
Okay.
So I just like the way that they can run the ball. I like Christian McCaffrey. I think he's the best player in college.
Yep, no doubt. I don't know. That kid from Louisville, though, might have something to say about it.
That's got Geno Smith written all over it.
I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. We'll leave that for a different podcast.
Yeah. No, I'm taking Stanford. I like their defense. Kansas State's always a really, really solid team. Bill Snyder does a really good job over there coaching. Kansas State, like a couple years ago, they were in the Fiesta Bowl, so they're just a solid team.
With Colin Klein, who's nowhere to be found nowadays.
Hey, he was never going to be a quarterback in the NFL. But anyway, yeah, I think that you're underplaying the Kansas State win, like a 13-26 game. I think that plays just right into what Stanford wants to do. They didn't want to overshow anything, and I think right now they'll put a nice. I think they'll put up at least 14 on them. At least a 14-point win. So yeah, I'm gonna go 28-14 in favor of the Cardinal.
Okay.
All right. Oh, another nice game. BYU UCLA. Oh, Kalani Sitake. What'd you think of that play call?
I loved it.
Loved it.
I did. Honestly, Kalani's got to build a culture there because honestly, I see Kalani at BYU as like almost like a like a Mike Riley at Oregon State. That's Kalani's dream job. I mean, unless he gets an offer from like Alabama, that's Kalani's dream job. Mm-hmm. I got Kalani beating UCLA. If it was in LA, maybe not. They played last year and it was close. UCLA won, but it was close. Lavelle Edwards Stadium is a tough place to play. The altitude can affect you. I don't think those Southern boys from LA are ready to go into that altitude. That's a night game. 7:15. You know BYU is going to be just popping. I think BYU wins it, and I think they win it by double digits.
And the crazy thing, they'll be completely sober as it's just going bonkers, which just blows my mind.
Hardy har there, Brian.
Yeah. I for one didn't like the play call.
Really?
To go for 2 at the end of the game. So, yeah, just for me, if you're in college, you're gonna get the ball back in overtime anyway. You've had trouble on offense throughout that game. I'd say take the points, play for overtime, and see where it goes. But that's just me. I mean, I can get behind the you gotta build a culture and whatnot, but you gotta win. And I just think that the odds are in the favor if you just go to overtime. But one thing I really noticed about that BYU team is that they will hit you. That was an aggressive defense against Utah, man. That was just like watching a boxing match almost, man. Those were some real hits being
laid. They always hit hard, though.
Especially that middle linebacker for BYU. My goodness, it just seems like every time he was around the ball every play, and then he popped some people, and that was a lot of fun to watch. So I'm excited for this game. I'm not a huge believer. I do think Josh Rosen's incredibly talented. I don't know if he's going to live up to the hype. He's kind of had a couple. He didn't play very well against Texas A&M, and then they beat UNLV. But yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm almost liking the Cougars as well. I just think UCLA just constantly gets overrated, and yeah, just not a huge believer in Josh Rosen. So yeah, I think you swayed me, Brenden. BYU, go Cougs.
Cool.
You got a score for that?
Yeah, I said didn't I say 24-7?
Oh, 24-7. Oh man, they're gonna Josh Rosen.
I don't think I think when he's gonna get. I never think a player's gonna get hurt, but they're gonna hit him hard. Kalani, he's a good defensive coach. They're gonna hit him hard. 24-7, maybe 24-10.
Yeah, I'm going 35-21. I think their defense is good, BYU's, but they're still gonna give up some points. Utah, San Jose State. I mean, this one I think is an easy one for Utah. I just think Utah's just very solid across the board, except they did have a couple players leave the program last week.
Who?
One of their running backs.
Utah?
Maybe I'm remembering wrong. Maybe the darn Twitter world.
It could be. I haven't paid enough attention. Utah runs this game away. I'm saying 30, 35, 14. San Jose's solid, but not. It's surprisingly it's at San Jose State.
Yeah,
you don't see that too often.
Yeah.
I know the Beavers got to go there in a couple years to complete their home and home. You don't see that at Spartan Stadium. 35-14.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 42-17. Seems like a lot for Utah, who's only averaging 22 points. And San Jose State's averaging 38.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. San Diego State put a thumping on Portland State. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Utah's offensive line. I like their defense. Texas, California, the game that ended with a missed PAT last year that gave Cal the victory. Did you watch any of that?
I want to say a little bit, but not much if I can remember.
The Texas Notre Dame game.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Texas Cal last year. No, Notre Dame. I just got to see the ending when Tyrone swoops.
Yeah.
Swooped on in. No.
Swoop, there it is.
Yeah, I like it. I got Cal. I got Davis Webb. I don't think Texas being number 11 is overhyped because I think Notre Dame was overranked at 10. I think Texas should be like 20. It's in Memorial Stadium, night game. Sonny Dykes has got something to prove after losing to San Diego State last week. Granted, I didn't realize San Diego State has the second longest win streak in the nation.
What are they at?
12.
Wow.
They won 10 straight to finish the year last year.
That's impressive.
10 straight under Rocky Long, former Oregon State coach. Or position coach.
Yeah.
They won 10 straight.
Interesting. So, maybe it's not such a big deal. I mean, it is.
Like, at the end of the game, people are like, San Diego State, borderline playoff contender. I mean, it's not going to happen. But they won But they won 10 straight. They're on a 12-game winning streak this year, or right now. And I said, that's, pretty impressive. Davis Webb's going to get it going again. Cal's up a lot of offense. You can see in the game against Notre Dame, Texas's defense is not very good.
Yeah. But I do think Notre Dame has better talent, and I do think that
maybe, but I think Cal's going to win. I think they'll win in a shootout. I think it'll be 61-58 on a last-second field goal by Cal. 61-58.
All right.
Booyah.
I'm actually going to take Texas, and I'm going to take Texas kind of big.
Okay.
I like the way they play defense.
What do you got?
I like the way that they... I just think that they're kind of built to be pretty good, and it's going against some of the things that I kind of believe in. When you don't have when you have two quarterbacks, you really have none. Texas kind of, they kind of use the two quarterback system, but I just think, that win over Notre Dame was impressive. I do think Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame might have been overranked, I do think that Notre Dame is a really good team, really solid, and to win that game in the fashion that they did, I think that they got some toughness to them. I like where they're at in their third year with Charlie Strong. So, yeah, I'm going to take Texas. I think that they'll be able to handle the Bear raid. So I'm going to go 35-21. This is like my standard score. 35-21. I need to be more creative. All right. Hawaii, Arizona, last game of the 7:45 kickoff Pacific time.
Arizona. I'm getting bored making these blowouts, but this will be another one. Hawaii is awful. I'm gonna go 45-7 again.
45-7.
Yep.
Yeah, Arizona. I think that they can just outclass them, and even though Arizona has their own problems, with Grambling State, still were able to come back and win. Played BYU tough. I think Arizona's probably going to roll out. They're not going to roll out Solomon at quarterback. So yeah, I just think that they'll just take care of Hawaii like they're supposed to. It won't be anything flashy. It'll just probably be just like a 35, no, I'm not gonna say 35. We'll go 31-17 win.
Cool.
All right. Well, that is it. Can't wait for Pac-12 play to start.
I'm excited. Yeah. I am. But Oregon State's going to have to wait even longer for Pac-12 play.
Yep. Got Boise State on the docket next.
That could have the intensity of a Pac-12 game.
Yeah. Boise State. That's a big game. That's a local. Still a local school. That's
Oh, Brian, I forgot to tell you though. You can get a ticket to the Arizona-Hawaii game for $9.
$9? And it's in Arizona. If it was in Hawaii, I'd be all over it.
And you can get a ticket to the Idaho State Oregon State game for $9.
Hear that, everyone? $9.
$9. Get your butt to Research Stadium.
Yeah.
Go
Hey.
support the Beavs.
All right, one final question before we go out. Does Oregon State have more than 40,000 fans in Research Stadium?
No.
No, they're going under?
No. I said 35.
Man, 35 is pretty low, even by last year's standards. I think they're going to go over 40,000.
Okay.
Yeah, especially because with this week, students are coming back.
That's true. Student section was always full even last year.
Yeah.
Or at least for parts of it.
Yep. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the over 40,000. That sounds pretty solid to you?
Yeah. I mean, I said like 38 is what I'm looking at.
Oh, so now it went from 35 to 38?
Somewhere in that range.
I see it as. Well, anyway, I think that should do it. We've been talking for way too long. It's about Oregon State football. The Brian and Brenden Football Podcast, episode 3 in the books. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a nice day.